second day, so I'm so excited. So this is my favorite part. This is my favorite part of being director of conferences and service. I think it's such a heartwarming thing that we really have established in NENA. So for those of you that are new to NENA and our conference, the Legacy Lecture Series was created and born right here with our great minds of NENA, our passionate service, hospitality-focused people. It was established to honor someone who has made a significant contribution to NENA, CRE, hospitality, education, and research. So our first honoree was Carolyn Cooper at our Boston conference. We've honored Nick Haggis. Yes, I just want to make sure I said it right. And our very own and special Fred Mayo. Dr. Boger, and last year, Reg from James Madison. And this year's Legacy Lecture is Dr. Joy Dickerson. He really has been so inspiration to all of us at some point, in some way, shape, or form in our career and our educational journey. So I want to invite Joy to her throne, please. So I just have a little personal story. I always have a personal story for these legacy lectures. So go ahead, take a seat. Enjoy, relax. Okay. So Joy is one of the first people that I met when I entered the world of NENA. So if all of you know Dr. Clayton Barrows, he found me at the Waldorf Astoria at one of the alligator hours, and he dropped me off at NENA. He says, come to the alligator hour. He dropped me off to Joy, Donna Quadri, and Josette, and he said, they will take care of you, right? And they most certainly did. They took me under their wing. They welcomed me like I've always been a part of this world, and I've loved every moment of it. Joy has inspired and mentored me, even when she maybe wasn't aware that she was doing so. And I know that I am not alone in that aspect. So I know she has touched our lives in some way, whether she was our professor, or whether we worked with her, or have been a colleague. So she holds a very special place in my heart. And so I'm so happy that we get to celebrate her this evening. And now I want to introduce Donna Albano, who's going to share a little more about Joy and just have a conversation with her this evening. So thank you.
You'll see my tissues. I have a pack of tissues here. I am thrilled and honored. Do we need it? We need the mic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then she can whisper.
I am thrilled and honored, beyond belief, to be sitting here with Joy Dickerson as our legacy lecturer this year. You will hear from Joy just how far, all right, stop. You will hear from Joy just how far we go back. You will hear from Joy how far we go back. But she has been a dear friend, certainly a mentor, an amazing role model, an amazing teacher, and a friend to so many of you in this room, right? Just a friend.
Yes.
Which I probably should have said first. We've talked several times, we talk all the time, but we've talked several times about this particular event, and it's really all about her. So I'm thrilled. We have a rich history. We'll talk about it today. And I think I really just kind of want to kick off by asking you if there was a theme, to your life story, if there was a theme to your legacy, what do you think it would be?
Can I hold that just for a second?
Hold the thought.
Just for a second.
Yes.
I just want to, I'm going to get to that, but I first just want to thank you for this honor because it's incredible to me. So, you know, when I think about just a couple of years ago, we're honoring Fred, and Nick Hadgis was my dean at my first university, and then, you know, Reg, and it sort of, you know, bowls me over to be in this seat. And so I sincerely thank all of you, my good and dear NENA friends, for this experience. And so, with that, Donna just asked me if there would be a theme to my career. And, you know, it's pretty funny, this is an exercise down memory lane, right, when this is presented. And so the theme that kept occurring is never say never. And I would say that to you from the beginning. I'm a little bit headstrong. And I would say, you know, I'll never do that. And, you know, sure enough, I have. And I want to say to you that saying yes to some of the things that I thought I would never say, you know, when you say yes, things open up, relationships develop, ideas flow. And I'll just take you back, just if you might find this funny, is that when I was a senior in high school, I was going to be a music major at Westchester University in Pennsylvania. And I realized in my senior year that I wasn't good enough to be a performer. I mean that sincerely. And my other option would have been to be a music educator. And I was like, I will never be an educator. And so I abandoned that whole idea of music, and I went to Penn State as a business major and ended up thereafter as a hospitality major. But I think, you know, the funny part of that story, of course, is that here now I've been in education for 34 years. And have seriously loved every minute of it. So that's my first never say never. Should I keep going?
Well,
Yes.
I can prompt you, of course.
She's totally gonna keep going. After graduating from Penn State, you embarked on an amazing industry career, and that ended up informing where you are today. So do you want to talk a little bit about your industry experience and how that maybe led you into never say never education?
So as a hospitality major, you need experience, and I started out, my first job was a dishwasher on a spaghetti special night, and so I have a deep appreciation for all of that back of the house work, right? I took an internship at a Ramada Inn that, you know, where I honestly think I was the worst server ever. A busload of young dancers came in and everybody's chocolate milk and orange juice got messed up. But seriously, as I embarked on my career, I was in senior living. I went the food service management route and started in senior living, went into B&I, went into events, loved every minute of it, was reading the newspaper with my husband Tom, and Philadelphia Inquirer, Sunday ads. I wonder what it means to be a university lab instructor. And just for fun, because I really didn't know what it meant, I sent off my resume and they called me. And so that was Widener University in Chester, Pennsylvania. And I actually went into that interview really with no expectation and no understanding at all of education. And I was 10 months pregnant. I gave birth to my daughter 2 days later. And I did not get the job, by the way. But then 2 years later, a man, some of you knew David Tucker, he called me. He and Cheryl Klein were on a search committee. Would I come back in? And so starting in 1988, I started this journey with Cheryl, with Donna, who would have been one of the first people that I met on the job. So here's Donna at Widener University. I go into the building on the first day and she's buzzing all around the office. And I'm saying, who is this dynamo? Because she seems like she's the go-to person and she knows everything. She was our work study student, Donna Russo. So Donna and I go back to 1988, as do Cheryl and I.
We were 5, right?
We were five. Strangely, a couple of years later, long story, but after I had a baby, came back to Widener, and here's this bubbly young student running all over the place, and I'm like, and who is this young woman? And this would be Ruth Lee O'Rourke, who now is my colleague at Delaware County Community College. So that sort of came full circle, right? And so, the career was very interesting. I knew absolutely nothing about education. Nick Hadgis, I thought, he didn't know what to do with me. I had come out of kitchens. I was very loud. I'm still very loud. And so he did tolerate, but I really didn't know what it meant to be an educator. I really had no idea, and I was really learning as I went along in these food labs. And then and then they started to put me into some other classes. Okay. All right. So fast forward, if you will. I'm at Widener University now for a good amount of time, and master's was terminal, by the way. So I had gotten my master's degree, and Nick said to me, you're really going to need to move on for your doctorate. And I was like, never. You hired me in, right? You hired me in, master's terminal, and that should be good enough for my promotion. And he said, then I don't want to hear you complain when I start hiring the PhDs in at $10,000 higher than you. This is a true story. And I was like, So, never say never. I started applying to schools under the tutelage of John Mahoney, another one of my colleagues, and he was my advisor, if you will, on where I should go for my doctorate. Let me tell you what, it was one of my best academic experiences. I can't say enough. Every Monday from 5 to 10, that was my college night. And listen, every Monday at about what, Jeff, 1 p.m., I would shut my door so I could finish my 10-page paper that was due that day. But you know what? I sincerely say to you, I can't believe how much I learned, and from other people, how much your mind sort of opens, because you sort of see things from singular perspective, right? And then all of a sudden, all of these educators they're just coming at topics with different thoughts and ideas, and I just found it so incredibly interesting. Not the papers so much, but the conversation on Monday nights. So there was my other never say never, and listen, it's been a great career. I was at Widener for a long time. I thought I would never leave Widener. There you go again, never. Right? I made the decision after 26 years there that I would go up to the Culinary Institute of America. They needed someone to write a new hospitality management curriculum. Awesome, I'm your girl. And I leave Widener, I go into new territory, very scary and very rewarding. And again, meet new people, you learn so much, you see things from a different lens, and the change was very good for me at the time because it made me realize that hospitality management was still very relevant because they're building a new program, right? So then COVID hits, I come back home, and again, now my employment's with Delaware County Community College. Never thought I would be in the community college arena because I've been a four-year for a long time. I again thank David because he's been so amazing in mentoring me, coaching me on community colleges and how they differ from, and what our needs are and everything. And so, so saying yes has been a really great thing for me, even though so many times I never said no, I always thought never say never, but and I guess you would all know that never did I think I would be the ICRE president. So, and before I share too much, I will say this, and then we'll get off the never say never. Is that okay?
Well, because I need to circle back for a second.
Okay. So,
And you need some water and a breath.
can I finish this one?
Of course.
Okay. So again, I'm at Widener. Nick Hadgis comes into the copy room. Like, the copy room is like literally like, what, 6 feet by 8 feet. And so you're sort of like there, and he comes in at the doorway and says, this was one of his favorite sayings, "I think you should throw your hat in the ring and run for ICRE vice president." And I turned around and I said, Nick, that would be a really hard no for me, and I'm not your girl, never. And what do you know? 3 years later, they called, and we'll get back to that. So, and that was also an amazing, like, one of my most amazing experiences in my career. So, say yes.
Say yes is a great lesson, right? Just because she spent so many formative, impactful years at Widener University, I just want her to circle back. When we originally had this discussion, I asked her to reflect on her teaching, her research, and her service in that environment, as it provided a foundation for what would become a very long academic career at Widener and beyond, obviously. But you said things like they were the best teaching years of your life. You said you enhanced a model and made it richer or stronger. She's going to talk about co-op and cooperative education in just a second. You said it was transformational for you and for the students. You said it was a springboard for your dissertation, which in fact it was. You said you learned so much. You said you stayed connected with the industry, and that's what co-op allowed you to do. You said you got to know the students so well. You would spend 6 hours a week with students, and you got to know them so well. And to this day, you credit valuing your alumni relationships with having taught co-op and your teaching experiences. So I'm gonna punt back to you and say, one of the 2 most influential experiences in Joy's life, one of them was teaching co-op at Widener. So we'd like for you to talk about that.
Okay, so there were a couple of people at Widener who really encouraged me to take on the cooperative education piece. One I already alluded to, David Tucker. He was like, just do it, you would be perfect for it. Carol Cargill, who some of you know, wow, she was an amazing hospitality educator, and still a very dear friend of mine. And when she was ready to go, she said, "You're gonna be it." And I was like, well, you're gonna have to talk Nick into that, right? But they sort of gave me the tools to be confident enough to take on the senior level program. So what we did at Widener was a little bit different, where senior level students go out, they work 40 hours a week, they come back to campus 1 day a week for a 6-hour leadership development series. It was amazing. So 12 students around the table and me, and we get to know each other pretty well, because they start telling you things you probably don't need to know, but it kept me connected with the industry, which I love the industry. And so because I would go out and talk to employers and try to get new employers and talk to the students' employers, and so I stayed, I felt connected to the industry. The leadership development series, what happened with that was, we would study a topic, right? And then I would say your job for the week basically is to go out and find or experience what we're talking about. So if we're talking about, for example, conflict resolution, and we talk about it from an academic nature, then you go out and your job really this week is to see how your boss handles conflict, to see what conflicts arose and how they were handled, right? And then they come back, they talk about it roundtable, sort of in an open reflection, okay? So it was extremely soulful, I would say, because this material was great for a student, whether you wanted to be in hospitality education or an engineer. This was all about the student and developing the student from the inside out. And I loved it. And you know, I don't credit myself, just let's be clear on that, on the model. The model was set. I do think that I was able to make some changes to the curriculum, and I felt that it was very powerful, and the students, they still contact, they're not students anymore, you know, they're alums now, but they still contact me. And you know, I have one student who I thought never paid attention, and he still emails me once a year and says, here's my updated mission statement, my personal mission, you know, and I'm like, oh, you did pay attention. But the relationships that developed in that class, their personal transformation, the academic piece, it was absorbed and retained because they were practicing it. It was just so meaningful and powerful, and will always be so to me. And I am grateful that I had that opportunity. I was able to do that for I think 12 or 13 years. And so again, those students, those relationships, wow. And you know, and it's great. They call me when they're going to have a baby, or when they're getting married, or when they're changing jobs, and do you think this is a good move? And you know, it's been very personally meaningful to me. So, and I believe that it was also meaningful to them. Is that okay?
Excellent. Is that okay? Is that okay? When we talked about research and the impact of research on her life, she said she believes she's a terrible researcher, self-proclaimed terrible researcher. She always wants to do research on experiential learning, and she finds great value in anything that could be applied. So I don't know if you want to say a few words about that? Applied research?
I did do some research, just so you know. And I think that research informs us, and I really still have a bit of a practitioner's mindset, in that I think our research needs to be something that our practitioners can utilize. And so so listen, I think research is good. I hang my hat on service and on the classroom work, and that's really what most of my work has been. And so I appreciate all of you who are researchers, because then I get to use your work in my classes. But I would say service was always a really big piece for me, and I feel like, you know, so you all know that Jeff and I worked together for years, and if I wasn't the advisor of a club, you know, he was. So we were service in the sense of showing students a certain segment or a certain club, professional organization, working with them, taking them places, doing things with them. And I feel like when students see things outside the four walls, that's a really healthy immersion and a great way to get involved with the industry. But you know, I also advise, gosh, tons of university service, tons of school service. You know, whether, again, another never say never, but you know, gosh, they made me the chair of the promotion and tenure committee for the university. That's like, that is not a good job. You know, but service is service. And again, what I'll say to you is I can't tell you how much I learned, because it was a whole new arena for me. And you know, every time you step into foreign territory, you're like, wow, I gotta learn this, and then I have to act like I know what I'm doing, and you're sort of still learning it as you go along. You know, you're building the plane and flying it, but that was very good. But then again, you know, lots and lots of different little committees where you could serve as an advisor, and I did a lot of that. So I love service, and I believe it's my job to serve people so that they can reach their goals. But what I will tell you is that, you know, all of us, right, we're in the classroom and, you know, changing or hopefully impacting lives. but I will tell you for certain that the students in all of my service impacted me greater than I will have ever impacted them.
So if you've ever worked with or around Joy, you know just how influential and impactful. I mean, she models service, so it's just so easy to, you practice what you preach, so we love that. So the second most influential experience you want to talk about is leadership.
Yeah.
And we really talked about the never say never, I create leadership, but then she literally takes over and it's COVID. And for those of you who are in the organization long enough, we had a major leadership transition in the hierarchy of iCreate at the time. She was instrumental in, I guess, writing, not rewriting, a strategic plan. She has taught these lessons in leadership her whole life, but it was about time to practice every single one of those lessons. She can attest to the fact that they work, so let's hear a little bit about that. Or a lot of it about that.
How about that? What we teach works.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I became the iCRE Vice President in 2019, so it would be the year 2019, 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. But let me just back up for a moment. In 2019, I did learn that the strategic plan for iCRE had expired, and it was the role of the Vice President to make sure that there was a current strategic plan in place. So that was the first thing. The Vice Presidents of the federations and I got together and we did a member survey, and we sent a survey out to all of membership. We got great results back and lots of qualitative and quantitative information, enough that we could develop pillars that we could see were common threads of who we were. We also did a values assessment, and that had so many eyes on it. We started with like 300 values and pared it down to 4 of those values that we thought really were who we wanted to be. We did add, by the way, spirit of hospitality to our value set. How about that? And we use that at the board meeting, so that when things would get heated or whatever, we would say, well, in the spirit of hospitality, you know, where was I going with that thought?
Strategic plan.
So we did the strategic plan from the value survey. Lots and lots of eyes on the strategic plan. We think that at least 150 people had their eyes on the strategic plan. So there's 2020, and it's going along, and then COVID hits, and then I'm installed as the president. And we're realizing that all of our budgets, there is no more professional development budget, there is no more travel budget. We don't know if there'll be budget for members. There's definitely not a 2020 conference, which is a huge revenue stream for iCRE. We're wondering how in the world we're going to induct Eta Sigma Delta students, another revenue stream for iCRE. So literally, the organization was, and the CEO was not coming back. And so we were without leadership. And this all happened, goodness. So this is what we did, if you don't already know, is we decided to pause. And what I mean by that is we didn't hire a CEO right away. We decided instead we wanted to see what we wanted to be as an organization, what sort of structure do we want to be. We decided to really look at our organizational goals, kind of a deep dive of our organizational goals, before we would bring on a paid CEO. So what are we going to do for the gap in the middle? I mean, somebody has to run the organization, right? And so lo and behold, I talked to some past presidents, and we have 3 unbelievably selfless past presidents who agreed to take a portion of the CEO role for 6 months, which I know Fred turned into 8, but honestly, that was probably the best decision we made. And we wanted things to just stay stable, and those 3 just moved it forward. Fred Mayo, Ray Shacklock, Reg Sasaki, okay? And the 3 of them, we sort of divided up what they were going to do, and they were amazing. And they met regularly, and so, Fred, again, I can't thank you enough. So the 4 of us worked together quite a bit. But during that time, the board, in trying to reestablish direction, they were also willing to meet regularly. We met 26 times in the academic year. 26 times, every 2 weeks we were meeting as a board, and they were there, and they were on the field playing, like total commitment. It was great. And this allowed us to move things forward. Listen, folks, this was a total lesson in collaboration. People, members, this organization, like, people came to really say, I want iCRE to work. I want it to work. What can we do? And people volunteered, and we had all these task forces and subcommittees and the thises and the that's, and all, I mean, we were meeting with so many people, and guess what? Everybody had a say. Like, everybody had a little voice. And I would like to say that, you know, I made all the decisions, but we made all the decisions. And there's something very comfortable about collaborating when you know that we did this together. And so I found that to be a great lesson to me, because sometimes we think that when we're in leadership, it's all on us. But I am telling you, our members wanted this organization. They wanted it back, and they wanted, it's like we had a blank canvas, and we were able to just start over again. And we did. And I am just grateful. I am grateful to so many people every day for leading the organization to like new heights, new greatness. I mean, our membership is like, gosh, I mean, paying members, the membership is like 2.5 times now, you know, and that's unbelievable. And so we have excitement again, and we know that we have education, and we have networking, and we have opportunity, and you know, and of course we all have each other in our federations, which is beautiful. So lots of lessons. That whole experience was another really gratifying time for me as I look back. While in the thick of it, I was like, what and why? We also, you know, in being able to establish who we wanted to be and the direction that we wanted, we then were able to write a decent job description for the leader that we wanted, and then we got her. And, you know, Fran has been really superb in the relationship building. We have so many relationships that needed to be rekindled, and she has been working diligently on, well, she doesn't, it's natural to her. That's kind of who she is. And she listens to all of us, and you know, it's been a really refreshing transformation. So, yeah.
And Joy, we all owe it to you. You saved iCRE.
Only get on the field and play when there's a great coach.
Yes.
Deep breath, want some water? You good?
you know, as lousy as COVID was, it gave us time, right? Because none of us were like in a normal class anymore. And we were able to, we had technology on our side. We could Zoom all the time, and it really is terrible, which I mean that sincerely. It was terrible, and yet for us, we then had time and technology to really think this through. So I really hope that you feel the difference. I hope that you're enjoying your membership now. Like, and it's like I just think that things are progressing really nicely.
And we have you to thank for that. We do. I know you didn't want to leave this talk without talking about some of the things you've learned over the many years. So we can talk about two things. You've had a ton of role models, mentors, pivotal people in your life. I asked you to think about that. I don't know if you want to, you've mentioned a lot of people already. We can talk a little bit about that if you want. Mentors, role models, how important that is, how that is for you. And then if you want to segue into, she's got these, what she calls hard C's to go by. So she's going to give you some leadership lessons with her hard C's.
So I think it's really important to always have people in your life that you can go talk to, because like we just don't know it all. How about that, academics? No, we and so, you know, as I start at in the beginning of Widener, you know, again, my dear colleagues Cheryl and Carol and David Tucker, and they all taught me different things, but they all taught me the purpose of being a faculty member, and you know, sort of the love that we have for education, right? And you know, for David, he was just like the kindest soul, and I saw from him how beautifully he interacted with students and how they responded, and he always had their best interest at heart. Have I got a job for you is how he would start his lectures, and he was always trying to move them into managed services or food service management. But the truth is he just wanted what was best for them. And that was, you know, this is our career, but this is not really a job, right? Because we're working with young people for their betterment, not for our betterment. And so I think a lot about how many times he sort of coached me on the side, and you know, I miss him, but he was really good people. You know, Cheryl did me the favor of hiring me into education. Thank you. But listen, I have gone to her all through my career with career advice. Should I move here? Should I do this? Should I study this? Cheryl was on my dissertation committee. And honestly, I don't even know, Cheryl, how I would have blueprinted. She kept saying to me, who cares? Like, I would give her one of my ideas, and she's like, it doesn't really pass the who cares test. Right? And I am so grateful for that, because we finally, and she coached me into that, we finally got to a really good point where I was so happy with the topic of my dissertation, right? And then she stuck with me through the whole thing. You know, she's reading it on the airplane from South Carolina up to Wilmington. And, you know, I just, you know, between all of the good words from Widener and all of the coaching along the way, I'm so grateful. So thank you. And then Carol, of course, I already talked to you about Carol. So they were like my sort of originals. But again, remember, we change, and we need new things from people. And you know, so many people have inspired me along the way. And you know, so many of you, I'm afraid to sort of name names, but I'm so inspired by the work that the Federation is doing and this conference. Like, this conference is awesome, right? Our first conference was like, so our first conference was in Atlantic City like 10 years ago. And we called it a conference, but it was like a really nice field trip. And I can say that because it's when I was the Federation president, and I sat at a board meeting for ICRE, and I'm listening, and I'm like, all these other federations are doing these mini conferences. Should we be doing that too? And so we sort of, the Revel was a brand new casino hotel in a spectacular. And so, and all these educators said, let's go there. And so we had 2 days at Revel, and we did, Jeff, thank you for, I don't know if you remember, you got Joanne Keating to come in, and got some speakers to come in, and we had ourselves a day of learning, a really great tour of the property, really inexpensive, beautiful new hotel rooms that night, and a great lunch. I forget which of the award-winning chefs, but it was a fantastic lunch. That was the birth of Federation Conference for us. And so when I think about that, and I think about this, I'm like, oh my goodness, you're amazing. You're all like, this is so great, you know. So I hope you know that there's been really good evolution. Okay.
Your C's, want to go to your C's?
Sure.
Hard C's, or not?
Sure. Yeah. All I want to say to you is, you inspire me, and I have had an advisory board all along the way of different people, and sometimes they're my personal friends, sometimes they're my colleagues, and sometimes, you know, you pick up the phone and it's you. The poor past presidents, when I was the president, oh my goodness, they were I wouldn't call one too many times or they wouldn't pick up anymore, but I used many of them to help me along the way. So just know that it's okay to have people to go to. You don't have to know it all. Okay. All right, the 5 C's. I call them the 5 hard C's, or the 5 not so hard C's. So it's collaboration and communication and collegiality and commitment and care. So you get it, they're hard C's. Are they hard to practice C's? Well, they shouldn't be, right? But sometimes they are. So when I think about collaboration, I always do go back to the ICRE experience as the president of ICRE. I honestly, I don't even know where some of the energy, but when you collaborate, the synergies that happen, I mean, like ideas surface that I could never have thought of on my own, and then somebody builds on it, and before you know it, wow, you've got an idea. Not only that, you've got people who are bought into it because it wasn't my idea, it was our idea. So I really believe in collaboration, and you know, as I said to Donna, you know, I do like to be in control, but you can't always. And the collaboration does allow us to sort of, again, it's everyone's perspectives, and we decide things together. So I found that to be very helpful. Communication, oh my gosh, okay. So the communication piece during the ICRE presidency was so critical. And I mean, gosh, Ray Shacklock, she had me like doing videos and stuff for the website, and I was like, and then she would yell at me because they were too long and I was too windy. But the communication piece, every time somebody would email me, it was my duty really to email back. And then we could discuss together, or people just want to know. You just want to know that I've gotten your message. So we did tons of talking. I already told you the board met 26 times. We did a ton of talking, a ton of discussing, but then there's always follow-up, and you have to follow it up. It can be written, it can be on the phone, whatever. But I did find that the communication was critical. And as soon as I would forget to write back to someone or forget to let somebody know what this team decided, like, it would get messed up. right? And so, or people would hear things third party, that's not the way we want to do it. And so the communication piece, I believe in, my husband does tell me a lot of times that I forget to tell him things, but I do try to be a better communicator now. And then the third one is collegiality. My dad, he used to just say, can you just be nice? And for us as colleagues, to help each other, to be respectful and courteous to each other, even if we're not in the same research or we don't agree on a certain point or whatever. We have a lot in common, those of us sitting here, believe it or not. And so it becomes really important to just show collegiality, helping each other, kindness to each other. And that was, again, I already said this to you, but that was our iCRE adoption with the new value, is that we run a board meeting without, we don't have to be argumentative. We can bring points up in the spirit of hospitality, and we can hear it all. Okay. Commitment. All right, listen, I will say this. When somebody says they're going to do something and then they don't do it, that's not a good thing. So I do believe in commitment in our organization, and in any time you're leading anything, we need to be committed, and we need to be the solution if there's a problem, right? And so if you're a member of iCRE, be committed to that. And if you have your choice of coming to a conference or not, come. And if you can reach out to a colleague, reach out. Like, the commitment to the organization and to each other is really incredibly vital to our organization. And so, and then I guess I would also say, in terms of a harder city commitment, is to just, follow through. And we had so much follow through during the pandemic. I mean, think about ESD, Ruth, Jeff, Donna, right? And all of a sudden, we're doing online inductions ceremonies. I mean, so we were able to get innovative, and their commitment to ESD, wow, and all about the follow through and what can we do and what's innovative and what gets all the students on board. And that was so helpful. When I think about commitment, listen, I don't know if you all know, many of you do. When I think about commitment, I think about Mary Jo Dolasinski and Kim Sievert, who were the conference directors during COVID and then the thereafter. And when we took conference online in 2021, I don't even think they slept. All for our benefit, so that we could have really good education, so that our awards would still keep going off without a hitch. And they were there is, I can't even explain it. The commitment was tremendous. And they, again, just selfless acts. And so for whose betterment? For ours. So commitment in my mind is a really big piece, and when we're going to belong to an organization, belong to the organization. Okay. And then my last piece, of course, is the hard C of care. And that's what we are. We're relationship building, we're student focused, and the network is everything. And we do what we do because we care, right? And so, there's nothing more exciting, I think you'll agree, than a student who comes bouncing in your office to say they just got their first job offer, or, the student who comes to you and says, this class changed my life, or whatever. But the relationships that we develop, oh boy, is all through care, right? It's the time you put in. It's the little tiny things that we do that somebody might say, why are you spending time doing that? Well, because it will make a difference to this person, the student. Yeah, so many students that we love. So those are my 5 things, and I say they're my 5 hard C's that shouldn't be so hard, but sometimes they are.
That's awesome, thank you. So it might sound like, I create and teaching and her career is a majority of her life, but we are gonna hyper-focus on what really the majority of Joy's life is. So many of you may know or may not know that Joy is married to Tom. He's zoomed in here, he's with us. Everyone say hi. Jake and Amanda, so she's a wife, she's a mom, she's a grandmom. So we have Cole and Olivia in our orbit. So we have Sarah, so we have Amanda on the call. Sarah and Tim just got married. Jake, they're all 5 years and 3 months apart. So we have Cole and Olivia, and you have a wonderful sister as well. So family is probably at her core more than anything. And if you know Joy, that is, it sounds like work might be the priority, but quite frankly, it's not. So I think we're gonna end our formal part of this with Joy just talking about her family and her family life, and then I think we'll have a few minutes for Q&A.
So 1979, at the Philadelphia airport, you just want to make sure you don't talk to anyone who you don't want to live with for the next 45 years. So Tom and I did meet 45 years ago, almost exactly. We've been married for like 41, it'll be, what, in 24, it's 42 years. He has, yeah.
I can't help you here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he has, but I mean.
So he grounds me, and he's amazing. Listen, I'm a lot to put up with, you know that, right? And he has, been an incredible support to me, not just professionally, but personally also. So, yeah. My rock, I tell him he's my superhero. We've had quite a couple of years in my personal life, and he's always there for me. So I am only able to do the things that I do professionally because he supports me, right? So I'm so grateful for that. I have these awesome adult children. Adult children are great, so if you're not quite there yet, wait till you see. Amanda, Jacob, and Sarah are like my heartbeats. So as Donna said, they're 5 years and 3 months each apart, and when we figured out that was the recipe, we sort of figured out we probably shouldn't let that happen again in 5 more years and 3 months, but they are incredibly delightful and supportive, and they're living beautiful lives on their own, and I'm so proud to call them mine. So and then I get to be a grandmother, which, listen, that's really fun because then you can leave after a while, right? But so my grandson is 11, and his name is Cole. He loves basketball, and we love to watch him play basketball, and it's just so fun to watch them grow, right? So it's like watching the next generation. And then, if anyone's interested, after this is over, I have great pictures on my phone of my almost 7-week-old Olivia.
Aww.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our baby.
So our baby, and it's just really lovely family, and the spirit of family is important to me. My mother and father really, family was everything to them, and you learn that, but I don't know what I would do without my family. So love them. So I think that's all probably on that. Do you want me to say a couple of closing things?
Sure. I mean, we're gonna field it. Do you want to close before we field it? Whatever.
I'll just say, yeah, and then, so, again, just remember the highlights. Never say never.
Never say never.
We got 5 C's going on, and you'll be quizzed afterward. Just know that you're making a difference. Just know that. And sometimes it's hard to think that you're making a difference when somebody's needling you for an extra point on a quiz, or, whatever, or my paper's late, or the dog ate it, or whatever it might be, but you're making a difference, and then they're making a difference for you. And then say yes to something that you might say no to. Just say yes. I don't want to know what it is, but and then my final thing is, whether you're leading yourself or leading your classroom or leading the organization or whatever, just lead with your whole heart. Be all in, your whole heart, and it won't feel like work.
Does anybody have a question or a comment? She said that, is anybody gonna ask any questions? Like, they might just be more commentary than questions.
Commentary.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to take a trip down memory lane. So we'll go back to about 2000, 2001, and we didn't know each other that well, but I got a call from you, and he's like, we have this program, I think you might be really good, and you might want to teach in it. Just get your foot in the door and teach this class at night on Monday nights. And I did. I did it for a couple of times, and you're like, there's going to be a full-time position opening up, and you really should consider it, right? And so I did. And so, I mean, you're really the reason why I got into higher ed and into academia. I mean, and I thank you. And we worked together for a lot of years. And look, we had a lot of ups and downs in our program, and went through a lot of organizational changes. I think, we worked very well together. We were very passionate about a lot of the same things. Even when you came to me and said, I have an idea. We should make cakes for the centenarians in Delaware County. And I'm like, okay, they're all turning 100. I'm like, great, how many? Oh, just 50 cakes, Jeff. Sure, we'll decorate 50 cakes, Joy. So we always had some wild ideas, but they were some of the best times that I'll always cherish and always remember. So thank you.
Joy, about halfway into your speech, you said that we inspire you. And what I need to say to you is how much you inspire all of us, and how much you have done for iCream over the years, keeping it together. But just what a wonderful, kind human being you are, and your friendship means the world to me. So thank you for being you, Joy.
I really can't take much more, but I'm gonna do one more.
This will be very practical. Okay, so, but first, I'm new to this organization, so I'm from Niagara University. First of all, I've been in academia for 20 plus years, mostly on the business school side and law side. And what I have to say to you guys is like, this doesn't happen at most academic colleges. There's a lovely sense of the 5 C's. So it's very clear from a somewhat new person, I hope not too much of an outsider, but that you've already left your mark on the 5 C's just by this room, and as an outsider watching, like, wow, I've never been to an academic conference in which people are moved in such a positive way, including me, and I'm new. So, but I have a question, because you are very inspiring, and just to hear a story, and I think all of us, whether we have children, whether we don't, whether we have elder care people, but we all have personal lives, and it's really important that we protect them, or else we don't get burnout. And if we are student first, service minded, like, you can just lose yourself. So how did you balance being all in, but at the same time put enough guardrails on there so you got to be the mother, the wife, the friend, and the colleague that clearly you were? Because to me, like, I need to know the secret to that sauce. Because I think it's so easy to get all in that you look up at the clock and it was 6 o'clock and you were supposed to be somewhere on the other side of your life. And so I would love to hear a little bit of wisdom from you on that, Joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Should we be asking Tom this?
So listen, I don't have great balance all the time. But a couple of things. When push came to shove, if there's a sick child at home, which my children of course were, you know, then I'm with them. You know, I don't know if any of you ever experienced this, but your child comes up to you at 7 o'clock in the morning and says, "Mommy, I don't feel good," and you're like, "How sick are you?" Right? So there was that, but I would like to think that I did put my family first. But they also gave me a lot of rope to be able to pursue. The other thing is that we have family around, or we did, who were just amazingly helpful to me and to Tom. And so both sets of parents lived in very close proximity. So front yard and backyard, basically. So we had that advantage. The third thing that I will say is that, and I think I shared this with someone earlier, is that, you know, during the dissertation phase, like there literally was no time, there just was no time ever. There was no time. And so I did get in the habit of waking up at 4, and I would do my work until I would hear Amanda would be the first one up because she was in high school. And then that was it. So I would get about 2 or 2.5 hours in before the rest of the family got up. And that's sort of how I lived through the dissertation. Papers, co-op was a lot of grading, and I kind of practiced the same thing with that. I'm clearest, I still am, believe it or not, like really early in the morning with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 cups of coffee. And so, but I think we have to assess who we are and where our values lie. And there are some times when maybe work got shortchanged. I will also tell you there were times when my family would have maybe wished I stayed home. And so it's a tough balance, there's no doubt. But I tried to take on what I could with what energy you could, and just sort of do things when people didn't miss me. I don't know if that's very helpful, but.
No, I think it is. I think people need to talk and hear about that more, that it's never a perfect balance, but, you know.
It's not, you know, and you want to do, you know, we want to be excellent in all areas of our life, right? But sometimes things give. And again, I have to say to all of you, I think like as a family unit, we understood that both mom and dad are both working, and I always have, right? So my children, like we sort of grew up with that ethic. And, but there were times, honestly, where either I stayed home or Tom stayed home, or, you know, maybe there's a concert and I'm supposed to be in college that night. And you have to know where your values lie, and then something gives. So, yeah. That's probably not the best answer, but that was it for me.
Thank you for your question.
That was
and
great.
Thank you for
Thank you.
acknowledging that what we do here at the Legacy Lecture is really a really special thing.
Are we on? We're do you want to see? Do we know that? Is this for her? Okay, sorry. I wasn't, this isn't on my notes. We're going off script. Tell me, all right. Really, if you have anything left in your cup, please can we cheers to Joy Dickerson.
To Joy Dickerson.
Joy Dickerson.
Joy Dickerson.
Joy Dickerson.
We love you.
This is awesome. Thank you so much.
You're awesome.
I do have a little thing to do, so if you could take those off my finger, this one right here, that would be great. That's a little just extra something, but on behalf of all of NENA, and the NENA board, and the conference planning committee, I'm gonna be all cliche here, would like to present you the world. Because it is engraved as your hospitality has no limits. And I really, after hearing you speak and sharing your leadership and your passion, and I really think that is true for you, Joy. Thank you so much. Yes. So, thank you, Donna, for having this. And, we have time for pictures. There's still more time in our cocktail hour. We have breakfast and our NENA meeting tomorrow morning, so we can continue our celebrations. Here.
8 a.m. here?
8 a.m.
Thank you all again so much.
Thank you.